Welcome to How to Dunk. The most important thing I want you to understand is that this applies to anyone. Kids especially should start doing this on lower hoops, and even the most advanced players should be following these levels to hoops even higher than 10 feet. Let's get into it. Law zero, jump fresh. It's law zero because it's not something you do, it's something you don't do. There's two really important pieces of evidence. One, if you're overtraining, you're exponentially more likely to be injured. And two, there's an inverse ratio between how much miles you're running per week and how high your vertical jump is. So most important is that you're taking 2 days off before this session, following one of my programs for 3 days, 2 days rest. Now, boom, it's dunk day. Let's get into it. Law number one, jump warm. Don't know what I would have done if I missed that, but my wife is an honest woman. She can verify I'm completely cold. Zero warm-up of any kind. That's cold me. There's also warm me. Warm me is better than cold me. Warm you is better than cold you and will always be better than cold you, but both warm you and cold you should be improving. If a tiger came after you in the jungle, would you grab a foam roller? Most basketball players could verify they probably got their first dunk when their adrenaline was going from actually playing basketball. So if you're not actually coming right off playing basketball before you get fatigued when you're really warm, which is totally valid as this portion, you want to follow the first 7 steps of the 13 levels of tendons. Law number 2, jump right. If you don't understand the technique that makes you jump high, you could be wasting your efforts. There's specific technique that helps for 1-foot jumping and other technique that helps for 2-foot jumping. I'm gonna break those down. In the session, you're only gonna work on one or the other, 1-foot or 2-foot. It's totally fine to work on one or the other. If you wanna work on both, you gotta alternate weeks. There's 2 main differences between a 1-foot jump and a 2-foot jump. When you go to jump off 1 foot, since you're only taking off 1 foot, it's a lot more pressure through your Achilles. In addition to there being more pressure through your Achilles on a 1-foot jump than a 2-foot jump, there's also more pressure on your hamstring to keep pulling the ground. That doesn't mean you literally have to kick your butt, but if you watch Michael Jordan jumping from the foul line and any other world-class 1-foot jumper, you'll see different levels of pulling the ground. On a 2-foot jump, you can get much closer to your maximum running jump without even having a running start. But on a 1-foot jump, you couldn't get nearly as close to your maximum running 1-foot jump, indicating it's much more about turning your run into a jump than a 2-foot jump is. So your final warm-up drill for your 1-foot dunking is learning to repetitively jump while putting the weight through the ball of your foot, even though that might not be how you're gonna jump when you dunk. If you can't handle that force through the ball of your foot, I don't want you handling it heel ball. Those struggling with 2-foot jumping struggle for that exact reason. They try to turn it into a run. So the 2-foot jump breaks down to a different final warm-up drill before you're dunking. So you start with a staggered stance. You're gonna have running arms as if you were approaching the rim. Now, the first thing you think about is pushing into the ground. Push. And after the push, punch. Push, punch. Notice the final turn. The turn allows me to get more knee bend on the jump. So you're jumping fresh, you're jumping warm, you're jumping right. Now it's time to jump left. It's really a play on words. I'm talking about jump balance. Whether you're planting for a 2-foot jump or whether you're jumping off 1 foot, we now have studies both on the injury side showing 70% reduction of injury and on the performance side showing 70% increase of jump improvement by working on both sides rather than one. So we're gonna break down and look at some jumps, and you're gonna study your jump. and you're gonna balance each rep. That applies both to the jump and to the landing. A 2-foot jump usually ends up with a 2-foot landing. Whereas a 2-hand dunk usually leads to a 2-foot landing, a 1-arm dunk usually leads to a 1-2 landing through the opposite foot. So whatever your plant, your dunk, and your land, you're gonna rest 30 seconds and then work on the opposite. Just remember, only work on 1 foot or 2 foot in the same session. Don't work on both. If you want to improve at both, you do 1 foot 1 week, 2 foot the next week. From a health perspective, you're adding too much volume by trying to work both, and you're not unhealthy by not doing one. You're only unhealthy by being balanced. Meaning, if you do left leg but not right leg, you're in trouble. But if you do left leg and right leg, but not right left and left right, you're still protecting yourself. You're jumping fresh, you're jumping warm, you're jumping right, you're jumping balanced. But the next thing that holds people back is not jumping hard. You have to jump hard enough to cause adaptation, just like you wouldn't expect to sprint faster if you only jogged. And what really tends to hold people back is the ball. If dribbling puts too much attention to think about your jump, start with something you can palm. You can even slightly deflate a ball. Now, instead of having your arms bobbled up thinking about the ball, you can get arm swing and try harder. The next level from a ball you can palm would be, rather than dribbling, giving yourself a self alley-oop so that you can use your arms and still get maximum intensity. Once you're dunking off the lob consistently, now you can look at dribbling in. What most people don't realize is there's 2 ways to dribble in. The most common way is dribbling straight into the jump, and you have to remember to still get your push and to turn and get your punch. And the same applies to 1 foot, dribbling straight in. In addition to dribbling straight into a dunk, a lot of players don't realize your steps don't start counting until the ball's in 2 hands. So you can do an extended step. That also applies to 1 foot jumping. Instead of having to jump there, you can loosen up your other arm and extend a step. The trick with either of these is just doing it fast enough that a ref isn't gonna have time to make a decision. Law number 5, you gotta win. It's a mistake to think that losing is what makes you win. The best dunkers in the world in the NBA, they're 6'6 plus, and the best trick dunkers in the world spend the most time dunking on lower rims, both categories. They have the most wins. Jordan learned from his losses, but he was winning the whole time. So you want to get as many wins as you can, and then when you're consistent at a certain level, you got to challenge yourself to the next one. So I don't care if you are 6'6 plus and you can dunk a certain way on 10 feet. I want to see you master the other one. I want to see you go 10 foot 1, 10 foot 2. But the biggest mistake you can make is not getting enough wins. And the way you rehabilitate that, lower the rim down and go get a bunch of wins and then keep progressing. So rim height is absolutely key if you are going to succeed in this process. Last but not least, law number 6, you gotta love your knees. You have to understand, by even trying to jump higher, you're in the #1 human activity for causing knee pain and knee surgeries. So that's why every one of my dunk programs build on one of my knee programs, and why the first thing I want you to do, whether it's after the session or the first day after, is get in an ROKP, reverse out knee pain session, so that you can get as much blood flow to recover those knees and strengthen your legs against future jump pain.